Today we are learning basketball with Maurya Kumpatla. Covers the NBA draft with Swish Theory. You got to check him out on Twitter at the Flare Screen. What a crazy time in basketball just the last few weeks. Oklahoma City Thunder, 2025 NBA champions. That's who we're here to celebrate. Just a little bit on a delay here with how busy these last few weeks are. The draft, the Magic trading for all the shooters under the sun, apparently. We're back, but that's not what today is about. We're celebrating the Thunder and dig into some of our favorite draft winners here. But how you doing today, Mario? How happy is it for the Thunder fans out there?
I'm doing good, Ryan. Yeah, it's a it's a great time for Thunder fans. After all these years of you know people say like the Thunder, they've been a very successful franchise, but there've been a bunch of letdowns too, right? In 2016, lost 3-1 lead, and then KD leaves. You get you get PG and Carmelo with Russ. You think that's gonna work out? That doesn't work out. You lose to Dame. And all this, with a bunch of letdowns over the years. So to finally win a championship, it feels nice.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, talk about a what if. You think you're going to be there forever as the Westbrook, the Durant, the Harden, Ibaka team back then. You're knocking on the door. You make the finals, just like the
Yeah.
Shaq and Penny Magic back in the day in the '90s. You think you're going to be there the next 5, 6, 7 years, and you never make it
hmm
back with that team. And none of those players are on the
hmm
team to make it back. You just never know in this NBA. So
Yeah.
to actually make it is a pretty
Yeah.
great feeling to make it
It
back.
is. Yeah, it was pretty stressful run. I don't think people realize how long a 16 game run is until it actually happens to your team. All the up and downs, like in the Denver series and then in the Indiana series, is pretty stressful. And like you said, you never know if you're going to make it back. So it's very important to capitalize on this opportunity we had. And I'm really glad, everyone performed great. Shai did his thing and we won. So it's a great feeling.
Yeah, and I want to celebrate Shea and try to contextualize how great his season was and the MVP
Mhm.
and some of his numbers and also just this
Yeah.
team because there's a lot of things you can say about this Thunder team. It's I'm not sure there's a team that has been this good at this age
hmm
when you combine average age of the players compared to the net rating of the team.
hmm
And just some of the fun facts about this team this season. The highest point differential in NBA history, full season and playoffs combined. Number one, your Oklahoma City Thunder 2025. Above your
hmm
71 Bucks, your 96 Bulls, your 2017 Warriors, your 24 Celtics. It's the Thunder that stand alone. With the net rating, the all-time net rating, it's the Thunder number 2, trailing only the 96 Bulls at 13.6 net rating. The
hmm
25 Thunder are 11.9. The 2017 Warriors 11.9. So this Thunder team is beating teams as badly as the greatest teams of all time. And that
hmm
part cannot go understated. And that puts them in the context of these teams. And yet they might not be viewed quite that way. And I think part of it might be the storytelling, the narrative aspect. Like maybe we wanted as fans to see more Goliaths get slayed along the way as they're on
hmm
this rise. But that's just not kind of how it broke in terms of the playoff seeding. They just beat who was in front of them and dominated everyone along the way. And
hmm
you can't really control who you play. The
hmm
one of the lasting memories of Game 7 will be the Tyrese Halliburton injury to start. Like no one wants to see a finals end that
hmm
way. It was one of the most
Yeah.
hype
Yeah.
moments for a game. But what else do you take away from that Game 7? Obviously, once that happens, like when you're watching that game,
hmm
you're still just rooting for the win. Like you want to beat the other team's best. You're
Yeah.
just hoping you don't slip away and lose now and slip on a banana peel as the other team loses their best player and still
Yeah.
find a way to trip up. So what are you feeling going through that Game 7?
Uh, I mean, yeah, I was as heartbroken as anyone. I really felt super bad for Tyrese. I know Shea said it, just thinking about a player who's worked their entire lives to play Game 7 for an NBA championship and to get that taken away from their hands in the form of an injury. That was really, really heartbreaking. And I really hate how ESPN, they kept showing the injury over and over again. I don't know why they do that. I thought it was a
Yeah,
little much.
that was
Uh,
weird. At least 5, 6 times, like after commercial breaks too.
yeah.
And to your point, think how many games just this season, how many practices, days, and games go into to get to that moment, to get to Game 7, the 16
Yeah.
extra games, the 82 regular season
Yeah.
games, the
I know.
in-season tournament. Wild.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Tyrese. And honestly, yeah, my focus was kind of taken off the game a little bit. The Thunder players' focus were too, because we were pretty locked down on defense. We were pretty focused, but I felt like they took their foot off the gas a little bit. But we came out swinging in the second half. Like you said, you can only play what's in front of you, right? You feel bad for Tyrese, but you still have to go out there. You have to earn your championship. That's what they did. I thought we were playing well, even when Tyrese was healthy and he was in the game. Obviously, he bombed three off the dribble threes in the first 5-6 minutes or whatever, but we were doing a really good job switching, keeping the ball in front of us, not allowing penetration, forcing turnovers. Like the only reason the Pacers were in the game to begin with, even when Tyrese was in, because of those like three off the dribble threes. Like even if he stayed healthy, as a team, you live with those, right? Just shooting a bunch of off the dribble threes. But of course, he got injured, and yeah, I mean it was unfortunate, but like you said, the Thunder can only play the team that's in front of them, and that's what they did, and we won a championship. So, yeah.
Hey, so you still get the parade, the champagne tastes just as sweet as they say. So what was the parade like, and just like the aftermath? Like what did it feel like seeing the celebration and just seeing the human element of it all? The players become people, and the little fun stuff, like they don't know how to spray champagne because they don't party or whatever that was about.
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy. Obviously, I was in my home. I wish I could have made it out to Game 7, but yeah, seeing that was the most emotion I've ever seen Sam Presti display. I think in the press conference, which is crazy. I think he's like, he wasn't crying, but it seemed like he kind of like was on the verge of tears. I've never seen him like that. All the players were really emotional, very happy. It was great to see all that, and yeah, that pretty much sums up how young the team is. They don't know how to pop champagne, and Caruso had to show them that. That was pretty funny. Yeah, it was just really fun, man. I know some Thunder fans. I've made some good friends who are Thunder fans. I just hopped on a call with them. We celebrated. It was a great time, and the crazy thing is the draft was in 3 days. So once that was done, I started like kind of looking at the players who I thought we would target. But it was a great night. I'll always remember it.
Absolutely. I mean, that an all-time moment. A franchise won its first NBA championship. The Orlando Magic have not done it yet. The many franchises have not done it yet. On the come up.
Maybe next year, man. The East West, the East wide open. You never know.
That's what I like to hear. After all these moves, I mean, the two rookies, a new role player, Tyus Jones recently signed, and then this Desmond Bane 3-point sniper. Can't wait to see how this Magic team looks. I mean, they're gonna be ready to go, knocking on the door right away. I agree. Like, they need some experience first, but like they're instantly in the mix in the East with how things are looking there. But I'm glad you gave Sam Presti a shout out. Like, there's obviously been a ton of he does get recognition for his process and for his ability to target talent in the draft and just find star after star. But he's gotten a lot of criticism in the last few years for not pushing all these chips in, for doing the process and kind of acting like, I don't know, whatever you want to say about like sitting on all these picks, hoarding these picks or something, as if like he's just collecting them. No, the whole point of all of this flexibility is to use it when you need to, and like to cash in the salary room on a Hartenstein and a Caruso turns out to be a genius way to use that salary space and save that salary space for big salary veterans that are proven defensive anchors to join in already an elite defense. And we'll get into all the stats and what makes them such a great defense. But could you hit on Sam Presti a little bit and what kind of he means to the culture, the process of this team building, and just his impact on the team and finally getting to the mountaintop?
Yeah, I mean, not enough praise can go Sam Presti's way. Clay Bennett and Mark Daigneault, they came together and they defined a process at the beginning of the rebuild. They had a vision, they defined that vision, they defined their process, and they stuck by it. And obviously, it's paid off. Like you said, a bunch of people have criticized that he doesn't push all his chips in. He hoards picks. He doesn't put them all on the table and get a big star. But in a league where teams are so willing to give up assets and burn assets, it's just a natural competitive advantage to hold assets and just have that type of flexibility. Just have the margin of error to miss. Like Presti, he isn't the perfect GM. He'll be the first to tell you that in all his press conferences. He's missed on Ousmane Dieng. He's missed on Josh Giddey. But the margin of error he has with the amount of assets he has allows him to miss on those guys. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're such a good organization. They have such a good talent evaluation group. When you pair their talent evaluation with the amount of assets they have, it gives you such a large just margin of error, like I keep saying, you know. And actually, he kind of did push all his chips in the table for one guy. Jalen Williams, really. A bunch of teams were trying to trade up for him. I know the Cavs and Nuggets were trying to trade up for him at 11, but Presti ended up trading up to 11 for Jang. But there were reports at the time that he traded up to secure Jada, like to block other teams from trading up for him. And then he selected Jang in case the trade fell through, you know? So he drafted Jang at 11. He drafted Jada at 12. But yeah, Presti's just really smart. You know, that's a competitive advantage by having so many assets over the rest of your field. And like you said, he cleared the space to sign Hartenstein by trading Trey Mann and a couple second round picks, I think, for Hayward. Hayward didn't resign. They had the cap space for Hartenstein. And then everyone was telling the Thunder they need rebounding and shooting. He went all in on defense and defensive playmaking. He got Caruso. Like that's something that the Rockets have done over the past few years, just doubling down on their strengths. Shout out to Presti for recognizing that just doubling down on defensive playmaking can take them really far. Yeah, I mean, not enough good things to say about him. He just had a really, really consistent process that's set the Thunder up for long-term success. And yeah, not enough praise can go to him. And I think what's allowed his vision to succeed, though, is Shai, because the Thunder and Sam Presti are surrounding Shai with a bunch of neutral to negative offensive pieces who are very defensively slanted. And most superstars in the league wouldn't be able to make that work. But Shai, just because of how incredible his scoring is and how well his passing complements his scoring, his all-time great scoring, he's able to take these defensively slanted lineups and make them offensively viable. Like with him on the court, even when Shai's on the court with 4 defensively slanted guys, they're producing at the rate of a top 10 offense, which is just a testament to how good he is on that end. So just his floor raising ability on offense is what allowed OKC to succeed all season long.
Yeah, Shai deserves credit. Presti deserves credit. I'm glad we're getting the whole Thunder organization some credit, because I just want to try to contextualize how great this moment is for the Thunder. Like they own the now and the future. Like they are the team of today and tomorrow as of now. Like a lot of things have broken that way between injuries on the other side and everything falling in place this season. But you never know what's going to happen. You need luck going forward as well. But I think what Presti has done is built in his own luck, where when you have this much talent, you have this many picks, you can adjust on the fly and you can remain flexible. If something were to happen, you can remain competitive today without sacrificing the future. And they've found a way to essentially perfect the process, especially for a small market team. And a lot of it goes back to a few big trades. You know, the Oladipo trade was a huge one to get Oladipo and Sabonis for, an expiring Serge Ibaka, all-time great, all-time bad Magic trade, all-time great Thunder trade. That sparked a lot of this. And then obviously the Paul George trade itself to get Shai and all of these other picks to go with it. And just one quick fun fact for you on Shai. The first Finals MVP and NBA MVP in like 12 years. He's one of the only players to ever do it. You got LeBron, Duncan, Shaq, Jordan, Hakeem, Magic, Bird, Moses, Kareem, Willis Reed, and now Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just amazing. Like the idea that someone can be an MVP candidate, can be a Defensive Player of the Year type of candidate as well. He actually won MVP and spearhead an all-time great defense, an all-time great team, an all-time great point differential team. Like this was one of the greatest individual seasons and team seasons we've ever seen. And I just, can't give Shai enough credit. I'm looking for more just fun stats that kind of highlight how great he was. And I'm sure we'll find some, but here's some defensive ones to kind of put in perspective how great this defense was for the Thunder. Via Todd Crumpler, the Thunder just set a new record for the most steals in one playoffs, 247, beating Portland's 1977 Trailblazers with 206. So the Bill Walton Trailblazers had more steals in the 70s, and no team has come close except for the Thunder, who just racked up 40 more steals than them, a pretty seismic percentage more. And it feels like they're just getting started. I mean, they make steals happen without even thinking about it. Some more defensive stats for you via Douglas Clausen of CBS. The Thunder led the NBA in defensive rating, opponent field goal percentage, and opponent turnovers in the regular season. The 16-17 Warriors are the only team since the NBA-ABA merger to lead the NBA in both opponent field goal percentage and opponent turnover percentage. And when you factor in the defensive rating, the Thunder are the only team to lead the NBA in all three categories in a single season since the merger. That stat alone just shows they are one of the most diverse, most impactful, and best rated defenses the league has ever seen. Two more quick hitters for you. The difference between first and second place on defense for the Thunder is the second largest gap between 1 and 2 in the last 25 years. This 2016 Spurs is the other the largest gap. And then, as you were hitting on, the Thunder forcing 18 turnovers per game in the playoffs is the most since the 96 Bulls. They had the most steals and blocks per game, 16 in the playoffs since the 83 Lakers, the most steals per game, 11 since the 75 Warriors. Just an incredible defense. Out of breath trying to list all these accolades that the Thunder have done. And like, I'll come away remembering this season for two things from this finals. Just an absolute incredible story from the Indiana Pacers, the cohesiveness, the Tyrese Halliburton of it all, just the comebacks, the game-winning shots, the idea that any team that finds the right balance of chemistry and floor balance and talent can win in the NBA now because of all the talent and depth. That team construction doesn't have to just be one way. Like, that is one big theme. And then the Thunder defense just being one of the greatest overwhelming defenses we've ever seen. The collection of talent, Caruso, it will come away as like this incredible role player is how we'll view him. That was one of the fun fact stats, was how the only players with 2 rings in the 2020s are defensive stopper guards: Drew Holiday, Alex Caruso, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So a cool shout out. Can you hit on a little bit of what the additions meant this year? The Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein of it all. We talked to start this podcast on your Isaiah Hartenstein piece with Swish Theory, projecting how his handoffs will look, how his defense will look, how his floaters will look. Did you think most of that came to pass about as you expected? Was it even better than expected? You know, how did this season play out from when you wrote that article about Isaiah Hartenstein's potential fit with what actually happened? Because, you know, from the outside point of view, the defense, a lot of the defense and the floaters seemed to work out pretty well, and it all seemed to fit pretty well.
I'm glad you mentioned the Pacers, because what they did was like really remarkable. What they did is really remarkable. They stretched the Thunder out to 7 games. I've never seen a defense for an entire 7-game series. They were full court pressuring Shai from the start. They were denying him off the ball. Like, the amount of energy and the amount of conditioning all their players have, especially Andrew Nembhard, to make that happen was really incredible. And they put a lot of pressure on Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren to step up offensively. Jalen Williams, for the most part, had a great series. Chet struggled a little bit more. We might get to that. And then on offense, like, they slowed down a bit of the Thunder's offense with their ball pressure and their off-ball denying. And then on offense, the amount of actions they run, like the amount of off-ball screens, the amount of player movement, the amount of ball movement. When you put in Aaron Wiggins or Isaiah Joe, they're a bit slow processing-wise on defense. So with the amount of player movement and the amount of ball movement that Indiana has on offense, they constantly put slow processors in actions, and that's what they did with Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins. They basically made them unplayable. So they kind of gave the Thunder like if you want more offense, you put in Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins, but then they give up more on defense. If you don't have them in, then the offense kind of slows down. So yeah, shout out to them. Their conditioning, the amount of chemistry they have, they're all on the same page. Rick Carlisle's, his concepts and his just principles that he has his team stands by, it's incredible. So yeah, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but I'm glad you mentioned them. Caruso was incredible. Yeah, he was He's our third best offensive player probably that entire series and for a good bit of the playoffs. He really rose. He really his shooting really took a leap. He launched more threes. He made them at a really good clip. I think like 38+%. He's one of our more reliable shooters, and then he gave us a good amount of off the dribble juice too. He had a couple really key drives and a couple really key moments. So to have that kind of offensive juice from one of the greatest guard defenders, if not the greatest guard defender ever, was really important for us. And then obviously he was the engine of our turnover generation. The F5 Substack taught. Sorry, what's Owen Phillips?
Owen
Yeah,
Phillips.
he had a really good graphic. Turnover, like the difference between how much you turn it over on offense minus how much you turn over on defense, basically turnover differential. The Thunder blew the second place team out of the water just because of how little they turned over on offense and how much they turned over on defense. And Caruso's kind of the spearhead of how much they turned over on defense. He's like the greatest disruptor ever. So yeah, Caruso was incredible for us, and Harnstein was really key in the Denver series in the double big lineups. He gave us that versatility where he could function as a center, Chet could function as the wing, and we can make stuff happen. He's a great backup big, of course. That was a big weakness for us in the Dallas series. Jalen Williams wasn't really a competent backup big, and Harnstein was. Yeah, his floaters, they were really key for us throughout the playoffs where he cuts into where Shai or Jalen Williams, they're kind of occupied by two defenders or someone helping at him, and Harnstein cuts into open space, has that little floater just as a release valve. That was really huge for us. Him on the short roll is huge, and yeah, he's good defensively throughout the playoffs. I think the Indiana series he struggled a little bit just because Miles Turner is a stretch five, and he struggles in space a little bit defensively. And then Tyrese, his pull-up shooting is insane. So as a big, you have to kind of step up, and that kind of highlights his issues defending in space a little bit. But we're nitpicking here. He's really good. Both him and Caruso really helped us throughout the playoffs. We don't win the championship without either of them. So they're both great.
Absolutely, that depth is just hard to account for and hard to replicate, and goes to show like they to what we kind of said earlier, Sam Presti did not have to go all in terms of the picks and the players and trading all of these players that they targeted and they liked for other stars around the league that other people wanted to just throw together. Like they knew what they liked, they knew what they were good at, they prioritized the defensive playmaking, they doubled down on it, and they build a monster, one of the greatest defensive teams we've ever seen, an overwhelming like behemoth on the defensive end, like no one can get through. And here we are, and it's led by an MVP. And I think that combination, that idea of we have an MVP all-time efficient level scoring creator offensive engine, and we are flanking him with an all-time great defense. That to me is the core concept of Steph Curry with the Warriors. It's just it's Jordan with the Bulls to me too. Like it's just this core concept of like we have the best offensive player, let's flank him with the best team defense. That's a pretty good recipe for success. And I was trying to find some more stats to put Shai's scoring in perspective, because one thing that stood out to me is Shai as a prospect. I was too whatever the word is, shy, I guess, to rank him high enough on the big board back then. Like I didn't have enough juice to do it. I should have just moved him up. I thought he very much had the same type of, back in his draft class, it was like Trae Young, Colin Sexton got a lot of buzz back then. And what stood out was Shai's efficiency. It was just all around, any stat you looked at was just high efficiency, high analytical marks across the board. When you combine that with his really long, lengthy wingspan, his really high two-way feel for the game, he was forcing turnovers left and right defensively, had the wingspan, and could score and create high assist to turnover, efficient, like 50, 40, 90 flirting type of shooting lines. Like he just did everything at such an efficient rate. You thought it would be like a really smart two-way connector guard, but he's another guy that's just completely blown up to the sum of its parts, becoming a full star, a full superstar. And the stat I wanted to bring up, shout out to Thunder Reddit. We're getting help from Thunder Reddit here. 32.7 points per game and 63.7 true shooting percentage for Shai. He's the second player in NBA history to average that many points while having that high of a true shooting percentage. And only Joel Embiid in 23 a few years ago was a higher on both of those marks. So just to put his scoring in perspective, one of the most efficient shooting guards seasons we have ever seen. And he's an offensive engine for his team. Like, and what's cool about his game is like, it's crazy to me. He gets all of this. He gets like all of the negative buzz on social media for the free throw stuff when he is like the most throwback player in the league when it comes to the midi pull-ups. Like he's taking the tough shots that we miss, like Kobe or T-Mac taking 15 years ago. He's out here taking them and making them. And he's doing it on the final stage. So, what's it like to watch him as a fan, to appreciate this up close, and just kind of see this development from like being one of three guards with Schroeder and CP3 and this little three-headed monster after the trade to now being like, oh, I'm just the guy on a championship team and maybe a dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been incredible seeing his rise. I still remember like the leap he took from 2019-20 season to 2020-21. It was really under-recognized by anyone outside of Thunder Twitter. I remember I was fighting battles like who's better, Shai, DeJounte Murray, when like it wasn't even close. It was like Shai easily, but that's besides the point. I mean, yeah, no one could have saw this kind of progression coming. Not Sam Presti, legitimately not anyone in the world besides Shai himself, probably. It's been really great to watch. And what stands out with him, obviously, you have the true shooting, you have like the effective field goal percentage. He's just a really efficient shooter. What stands out to me, just the amount of offense he creates relative to how low he turns the ball over. That's what powers the Thunder. Like I mentioned before, the Thunder's whole thing is they force a bunch of turnovers on defense without ever turning the ball over on offense, and that comes through Shai. Again, you have the defensively slanted lineups where all the offensive load is on him, and he's able to create so much offense without turning the ball over. And then you have his 7-foot wingspan along with the four other guys, and you're able to wreak a bunch of havoc and force a bunch of turnovers. And just by dominating that possession battle, along with Shai controlling the pace on offense, controlling the flow on offense, that's what leads to the Thunder's, avalanche runs, as Mike Breen said, throughout the playoffs. It goes on these crazy like 15-2, 10-0 runs, puts the Thunder up in the game, gives them the control. That's what allows it. Shai keeps turnovers low, creates really high efficient shots on offense, and then his length and the four other guys, they create a bunch of turnovers and they run out in transition, the same cycle over and over again. So yeah, the efficiency point, the true shooting for sure, but just how well he's able to create offense without ever turning it over is wildly impressive.
Yeah, I'm really glad you highlighted the rest of that. Like that, I went long on this article of scoring creator, just offensive engine, and really the concept ultimately is advantage creator. He has the ability to create advantages consistently and be the primary decision maker to capitalize on those advantages to create good looks for his team. Another fun stat, he had the most driving layups and dunks this season at 302, more than Giannis at 290, more than Cade at 273 via Kurt Goldsberry of The Ringer. He can drive at will. He's a drive and kick machine. He can drive and pull up for the midi. He can drive and draw a foul every single time down because he's so adept at feeling the contact and using the I'm sure playing with Chris Paul helps pick up a few of these tricks too, but he's just a natural like foul drawer to begin with. And it's just, it is a measure of efficient scoring that pretty much everybody hates to watch. So I don't know what the answer is here with the whole free throw thing, because it's what we all want in our efficient scores. Like when you're a fan of it, it's like, yeah, my guy's averaging like 8 free throws a game. He's one of the best foul drawers in the league. And then you're playing against LeBron. It's like, why does he get all the calls or whatever it may be? And they have to be more proven. But I'm glad you highlighted the creator aspect for Shai, because he is full stop the most complete guard in the NBA. And I think he's making a case as one of the most complete guards ever when you add up everything he can do. And obviously we're just getting started here. But if you continue on this trajectory of being one of the most efficient scorers ever, one of the most active turnover forcing defensive guards ever, and one of the best creator point guards ever, who can essentially be a heliocentric or very close to it option for an offense, what more do you need? What more can you ask for from a guard? Like we're running out of ways to criticize Shai, so we might as well start celebrating him and trying to just put into context how great he is. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on let's go back to it's 2-2 in the series,
Mm-hmm.
Thunder Pacers NBA Finals. It's tied 2-2. The Pacers have already won game 1 in OKC, so they definitely believe like we just got to win one more or whatever it may be
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
Oklahoma. We can do it. We've done it before. So they're not
Mm-hmm.
nervous. So where's your head at heading into game 5, and then, what do you think were kind of maybe the biggest factors, the most important players, anything that jumped out to you in those final 3 games? Obviously, the
Mm-hmm.
Halliburton injury will get the headlines, but
Mm-hmm.
J-Dub and Caruso, I remember game 5 really standing out. Caruso having a ton of moments,
Yeah.
J-Dub
Yep.
just attacking downhill, and game 6, the Pacers pull away with Halliburton crazy shot making, TJ McConnell being very clutch, Siakam very, very reliable. I want to shout out Siakam and make sure I give enough credit to him. I thought he could have been Finals MVP if this went the other way. That's how great and consistent he
Mm-hmm.
was.
Yeah.
But those are some of the players that popped out to me the last few games. So what do you remember most from game 5, game 6, game 7, the NBA Finals? It was tied 2-2. What kind of stands out as, the biggest factors that swayed the end of this series?
Yeah. Yeah, you said the last 3 games, but yeah, I want to touch on like the game where we were done 2-1 for a second.
Yeah.
That was a really stressful game. That was a real dogfight. Um, yeah, we came away with the win. Shai really took over in like the last 2 minutes. He hit 2 shots, drew a couple fouls, hit those free throws. We pulled away. Game 5, Shai did his thing again, and yes, Siakam was great, like you said, both game 4, game 5. But that was really the J-Dub game, in my opinion, because Shai, same thing. He was getting full court pressure. He was getting denied off the ball. Someone had to step up and kind of create offense, and J-Dub really stepped up. After those first 2 games, the first 2 games he was a little disappointing, but after that he stepped up throughout the series. He took pressure off Shai. The main criticism with J-Dub has always been and will always be kind of his shot diet. He loves those pull-up twos, just driving, and then when he feels any contact, just stepping back to those pull-up twos. But it's really difficult to be a consistent playoff creator when you have like a negative rim to mid-range ratio, when you just prefer those pull-up twos. But in game 5, he was so aggressive, using his handle and his change of speed to get downhill, get to the paint, finish with layups, finish with layup floaters, and just draw a bunch of fouls. I thought that was the most impressive thing, because J-Dub, with how much he loves the mid range, he doesn't draw that many fouls, but he's so aggressive getting downhill, drawing fouls, and he jumped the 40-point game with like 4 or 5 assists, I think, and that was huge. That really took some of the load off Shai, because when J-Dub doesn't have it going, Shai kind of has to be perfect. So Jalen Williams getting downhill, drawing free throws, finishing, that really helped take a bit of pressure off Shai. And yeah, Caruso was incredible. I think we had 4 straight steals at one point in game 5, which is how we pulled away. We had 4 straight steals, and then we created a transition. And that was while Caruso was in the game. I think he had like at least 2 of those steals. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3. Yeah, Shai did his thing. Caruso and J-Dub helped swing the game, and we won game 5. Game 6, I was actually in Indiana. That was not a great game. We started off really well in the first 2 minutes, and then after that, we kept turning it over, and we could not get rebounds. They were out rebounding us. They didn't turn the ball over, and they were forcing us into turnovers, which is crazy because it should be the opposite way. And then we shot like 25% from 3, while they shot like 36% or something. These are off the top of my head. They're probably a bit off, but it's just impossible to win a game against the Pacers when you turn the ball over a ton. You don't make them turn it over. You get out rebounded. So basically you lose the possession battle, and then you shoot worse. That was an impossible game to win. And then game 7, we touched on it. They were doing really well guarding Indiana, even before Hallie got injured. And then after they got injured, obviously it was a little easier. I think games 5 to 7, it really just came down to turnover battle. That's what it's been about the entire postseason. But game 5, I think Indiana had like double the amount of turnovers that OKC did. And then game 6, OKC had like 7, 8 more turnovers than Indiana did, and then Game 7, I think it was even more than double the amount of turnovers Pacers had. So I think that's really what it came down to: how much OKC could keep the ball on a string versus Indiana's ball pressure, and then how much they could continue to turn over an Indiana defense that did not turn it over much. I think that's really what it came down to.
Yeah, totally agree. The turnover battle was everything. The points off turnovers, I think, especially for the Thunder, is really what separated this series. And I think that is another big takeaway from these two teams finding this much success is the pace that they both play with and the turnovers that they force. And I think that kind of goes into the team building for teams going forward, that playing at a fast pace in the playoffs is no longer taboo. It's no longer just an easy way to score points for a team devoid of talent. It is a proven strategy for teams that want to score quickly, and it's an option if you have the personnel that can play that way. And I think, like, frankly, it's just the most efficient way to score if you can do it. Like, every team wants to do it. It's just actually being able to, can we force a steal and get a layup half of the time out here? And most teams can't, but the Thunder are built defensively enough to do it. And to your point, shout out Caruso for the defense, the deflections, like him diving for a loose ball for a deflection in Game 5 is one of the moments that stood out to me, where it's like that meme where Shaq dives for it right into the camera and throws it over his head. That's kind of what Caruso had, one of those moments. On the Pacers,
that was one of the steals, and another one was that was one of the steals where he dove down. Another one was the one where he got a steal and then he went downhill, and then Toppin, he had that flagrant foul on him. That kind of energized OKC. Yeah, those kind of moments is what powers OKC.
And almost the poster dunk, Caruso, the putback dunk too. I mean, that was the moment where the almost putback dunk. Sorry, he wanted it all. It was man, it looked like Elmer Fudd in the Looney Tunes movie in Space Jam is what it reminded me of. Like, he was going up for that thing, but he's just a high flying ball of energy. Any team is lucky to have a Caruso on their team. Any team would want to have him on their lineup. And I'm glad you highlighted J-Dub. Like, I think him getting downhill at will, like, it might not be there every night per se, but I think that is, one of the most important factors for this Thunder offense for them when they're thriving. To your point, like, if he's not doing that, it puts a lot on Shai's plate to kind of handle a little bit of everything else. But when they have like a downhill force, that electric first step explosiveness, J-Dub getting downhill, and Shai being crafty in the mid range, and Chet spacing as a rim roller and pick and pop guy, like I thought Chet kind of had some good moments, had some low moments, but good experience for this run for him to get all of those moments and the success that comes with it, where it should just kind of help his confidence. Did you have any takeaways from Chet in this final series?
Yeah, I mean, the defense was phenomenal all throughout the playoffs, especially the finals. That was one of the best individual defensive final series I've ever seen. That'll continue to be great. Wemby, Mobley, they'll contend for DPOYs for years to come. I'm sure Wemby's going to get most of them just because of his length. But yeah, most of the improvement's going to come on offense from Chet. That was a pretty bad offensive series. To be honest, I'm sure he knows it. He'll work on it. The slow release was really bad. It was really highlighted in double big lineups. He got a lot of threes blocked just because of how long he takes from catch to release. It's a really long release. He'll have to speed that up to get more threes up and convert threes at a higher rate. And I think his processing on drives, sometimes he can get a little stubborn on drives. He can just put his head down and get to the rim. That leads to a couple turnovers on digs. It leads to a couple bad shots when they're open passes. I think improving his driving process, when to drive, and keeping his passing options available on drives, that's going to be a big thing. But the defense is phenomenal, and he has a really good offensive baseline. He has room to improve, which is kind of scary because he's already at a all-star level. I mean, he's super young. His career's gotten derailed because even before he played an NBA game, he obviously injured his foot, and then he had one healthy season. He was healthy for like the first 10 games of the second season. He had a hip injury, and then he had to come back and perform at a high level immediately. He didn't have like an off-season recover. So I think just having a full offseason to recover and rehab with his hip injury is going to be huge. He didn't have to get surgery, which means like there's no structural damage or anything. As long as he's just having a full offseason to work on his body is going to be huge. So I'm really excited to see how he comes out next year, how he looks with a fully healthy hip and entire offseason to help rehabilitate that. And I'm excited to see if his driving process looks any better next season.
For sure, and yeah, he was blocking everything inside. I mean, having him in a
Yeah.
help defensive role with iHeart
Mhm.
down low and the more of a post up traditional defender, and now Thomas Sorber that we'll shift to
Mhm.
here in a second, and I mean, I honestly think Sorber has rocketed up kind of my post draft board, big board, because of the fit.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you're getting another elite defensive talent, wingspan, length, size, high feel player into a system ready
Yeah.
made for him to just thrive. Like we might as well hop over, but I do want to just
Mhm.
give one last shout out, one big congrats to the Thunder Oklahoma City franchise, the fans, the first time doing it. I mean, there's I don't know. I'm sure there's fans out there that there's nothing they want more in the world than the Thunder to win an NBA championship in their lifetime, and it just happened. So shout out, congrats to you for seeing it happen in your lifetime, and
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
the Thunder fans and everything. So
Yeah.
any parting thoughts on the season? Shout out to Coach Mark Dagnow. I'm trying with his name, so it still trips me up sometimes. But he's the
Mhm.
championship coach.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
get it for him. So any parting thoughts on his impact on the team, and
Yeah.
any really just any players that you'll remember this season for, and any thoughts we didn't quite touch on.
Yeah. Coach Dagnall, he did an incredible job. He crafted the best modern day defense in NBA history since like this like 60 Celtics or whatever. I mean, he's just an incredible defensive mind. I know Rick Pitino had a tweet. It was like, we study NBA teams' offenses all the time, but we've never studied their defenses before this season when we're studying the Thunder's defense. I think that sums it up better than anyone. You know, you have Rick Pitino for the first time studying a team's defense. It's the Thunder. I mean, just it's incredible stuff. The amount of creativeness he has in his defensive scheme to force turnovers and wreak havoc is crazy. I mean, I just think this is just an incredible moment for the fans, but also just the organization. Presti's had such a great vision. He's crafted the entire Thunder organization with such professionalism. Like he and Clay Bennett really built this organization from the ground up when they moved here to finally see their hard work and their dividends pay off. It's incredible. You know, especially Presti, he deserves all the praise, but also Clay Bennett. He's probably the most hands off owner in all of basketball. He just lets Presti do his thing. So shout out to him. Yeah, Dagnall, Presti, Clay Bennett, shout out to all of them. Today's actually Coach Dagnall Day as appointed by Mayor Holt. So I'll throw some on the grill later today.
There it is. Happy Dagnall Day.
Yeah, I mean, just all the players, the entire roster, all the post game interviews with all the towels and everything. Nick Gallo, all the Jalen Williams memes, about Jalen Williams, and the stuff they do in the press conferences. I'll always remember that. Aaron Wiggins' 40-point game. I remember that. Just this entire roster, I mean, Presti said it. He drafts people, not players, and shows and all the interviews and all the highlights, their encore chemistry. I'll remember everything. It's hard to say any specific player because I think I'll remember all of them for sure. And I'll pretend like I'm a part of the team and celebrate the championship too.
Hey, you're a fan. It's a we from here on out. But
Yeah.
I hear you. I mean, it's the camaraderie is something that will be remembered by this team. Just the celebrations in the post game and all of the Jalen's getting hype behind
Mhm.
Shai as he writes like an
Yeah.
Instagram rap bar or something after a big game,
Yeah.
and just hyping him up like that. Definitely will kind of be something to remember
Yeah.
this team. That just that energy, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
That kind of shows the chemistry off the court.
Yeah, it's corny for other people, but like as a fan of the team, it's fun for you, So I'll remember it.
There it is. No, I mean it's a fun way to see people having fun doing what they should have fun doing, playing basketball, and
Yeah.
that's what fans want to see. So shifting gears
Yeah.
slightly to the draft side of things, some teams stood out to you. Do you want to tell me about three of your big draft winners in this draft?
Yeah, we can talk about the Thunder draft real quick. I know you mentioned Sorber. I really love the Sorber edition. I kind of called the pick before it happened. It was pretty obvious once Cedric Howard, CMB, once both of those guys came off the board, and Yegor Demon was also a Presti guy. I thought it was pretty obvious it was going to be Sorber, and we drafted him. I'm super excited. Obviously, he fits the mold of having insane length, 7'6" wingspan, advanced feel. He's one of the highest feel big prospects I've ever scouted, and then having he has really good touch. Those are kind of the three prerequisites of Presti prospects, and he meets all of those. And there were rumors heading into the draft that OKC was looking for a big, just because Hartenstein might be out of OKC's price range after this upcoming year, because next year he's on contract, and then the third year is a team option. We might decline that and opt not to re-sign him. So Sorber would be great to slide into that role. I'm really excited for Hartenstein to mentor him, because Sorber's main thing is how poor his vertical is, and that really limited him as a finisher inside the arc against real competition. So just having Hartenstein teaching him that low floater would be incredible. I think that would be a really good counter to his lack of vertical explosion. And also just Hartenstein, like he's one of the most strongest physical prospects you'll ever see for a guy his age. So Hartenstein's one of the best technical screeners in the NBA. You know, teaching if he could teach Sorber how to screen like he does, that would be incredible. So yeah, just Hartenstein mentoring him with his screening and his floater and like his dribble handoff play, that would be great. And then on defense, you know, he'll fit in with his feel and his length and his defensive playmaking. Even he had a 2.7% steal rate last year at Georgetown, which is one of the higher rates among bigs that have been drafted over like the past 15 years or whatever. He slides in perfectly there. I mean, I can go on for a long time. You know, he's a perfect fit there, and I can't wait to see how he blossoms over the next few years. Brooks Barnhauser was good too. Just an insane, really high feel, really insane hands. Some of the best hands I've seen, which leads itself to like incredible defensive playmaking. He had like a 4.3% steal rate or something. So if the shot comes along, maybe he's a guy. Probably not, but you never know. And then I know the Thunder signed Payne Stanford on an E10 too. Stanford's a really good shooter, insane touch, really good movement shooting. And the thing that stands out is how good of a rebounder he is for his archetype of just pure movement shooter. And that type of physicality and length should hopefully translate to the NBA. Again, he's probably not a guy, but I think it's a good swing for a team that lacked elite shooting last year. So I was a fan of the Thunder draft class. I think the Grizzlies did a great job. I think the Hornets did a great job. I think the Magic did a great job too.
Hey, right there with you. Shout out to all
Yeah.
those teams. I agree. I think they were all some winners. I pulled up some data viz that I had made on Sorber while we were talking here, just to highlight
Mm-hmm.
some of that wingspan that you had mentioned, and some of the defensive instincts. Like this was a straightforward draft that puts it
Mm-hmm.
very clear with the wingspan. So
Yeah.
Sorber's here on the top right. That's the x-axis. The horizontal is wingspan to height plus minus. So he has
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
third highest wingspan to height plus minus of any prospect. But
Yeah.
he's also a big man. Like he's the heaviest
Yeah.
prospect in the draft. He's a center, and he's got the third longest length to height ratio. So
Mm-hmm.
he's basically the effectively biggest prospect in the
Mm-hmm.
draft.
Yeah.
And he's the second best in the stocks per foul rate of racking
Mm-hmm.
up steals and blocks without fouling. So he's a smart defender too. So you're getting one of the biggest, smartest, widest, longest defenders in the entire
Yeah.
class. And he's entering a defensive system already considered the greatest defense ever, with Chet
Yeah.
Holmgren and Hartenstein ahead of him, who like he essentially brings a different element than those guys, especially like his explosiveness, his athleticism, like is a little more dynamic to me. So I think that could be an interesting complementary aspect. And then also all three of them are just defensive anchor types that complement each other, and we might be able to see like different ones play with each other differently. I'm interested to see the double big aspect of that. And then I have some Cerebro ratings from NCAA players in the 2025 NBA draft. And Sorber is also really high on the defense and the at the rim ratings via Cerebro, where he's third overall in defense and like top 10 or so at the rim, which all of those, basically those are two all in one sets that account for like rebounds, blocks, steals, and then at the rim also accounts for 2-point percentage. So, just to kind of show that Sorber is one of the best big man prospects already, and now he's on one of the best teams. Like, I think he is one of the safer bets now to be a good player for a very long time, if not a great all defensive upside type player for a very long time. Like, I was looking through it earlier today. He's probably top 10 bet for me now of like, yeah, I have no concerns at all that he's going to be like fighting for an all defensive team 5 years from now in a great situation. So talk
Yeah.
about an incredible pick for a team that's already deep. Just like too much luxury, too many things going right for the Thunder right now. We got to pull them back a little bit, come back to reality. So tell me a little bit about the Grizzlies. What really stood out to you there? They made a big swing to acquire Cedric Cower, moving up from number 16, trading the Orlando Magic unprotected 2028 first round pick and 2 seconds to move up 5 spots to get Cedric Coward in this draft that was considered kind of flat, but Cedric is a really boomer bust type of D&3 prospect. Like, he's also on that wingspan draft that I can pull back up for half a second. He is quite literally the longest wingspan to height ratio in terms of plus minus. He's right here with Rasheer Fleming, tied for that mark. And he's a big wing with incredible shooting touch. So I think the bet is that you kind of are trying to not replace Desmond Bane, but replace the role with a big D&3 wing. Let's flank Ja Morant with smart defensive connectors like Javon Small later in the draft. I really like him as a pickup. They picked up Cedric Coward, Jalen Wells last year, Zach Edey last year. So, they're just loading up on some defense. So what stood out to you about that pick with Cedric Coward there to Memphis and their draft entirely? Javon Small, I thought, was an incredible value pick. I wouldn't have been mad if the Magic took him at 25, to be honest.
Yeah. Starting off at Cedric, it's a little bit of an unknown. A bunch of I don't know what to expect next year. A lot of people don't know what to expect just because of the volume of sample he had in D3 versus the volume of sample he had in D1. But I mean, yeah, he's super lengthy. His length is incredible. He utilizes pretty well on defense as a point of attack defender, even though he doesn't play make as much defensively. The thing that really stands out is his touch and just how complete of a play finisher he is. With his length, he's so efficient inside the arc. His 2-point percentage is crazy, and he's like an 85% plus 3-point shooter. I mean, sorry, free throw shooter, 40% plus from 3. Like, his touch is incredible. When you pair that touch with that kind of length and the baseline of feel that he has, he's just such a complete play finisher as a cutter, as like an offensive rebounder, as a play finisher on the perimeter. He's really going to eat in Memphis, I think. Memphis is really good with drafting the right type of wings, which makes me more confident in Coward, and then optimizing them. Like, Jalen Wells was a standout last year. So, yeah, Cedric's really going to eat in Memphis. I'm excited to see how he excels as a play finisher. The big swing skill is his off the dribble stuff. Like, he was a really high volume driver in D3, had a bunch of creation moments, not just on drives, but on post ups too. He dribbled a little less in D1, and just he had a lower sample in D1. So seeing how prominent that is in the NBA during his rookie contract is going to be interesting. That's probably the swing skill. But yeah, just his length, his touch, his play finishing, and his baseline level feel is going to be super, super nice in Memphis. I thought he was a candidate for OKC just because how well his shooting and passing would have filled those 2 voids that we had. But yeah, he's going to eat in Memphis. And Javon Small is a great pickup. Like you said you wouldn't have hated him for Orlando 25. Yeah, he was super underrated throughout the process. Avinash wrote a really great piece on him for his Swish Theory big board that we released. That's up on his Substack. Joe Hobart, also of Swish Theory, he wrote a great piece on Javon Small and Feel that you guys can go check out on Swish Theory. I mean, he's really good. I don't know how he went that undervalued throughout the draft process. He's a really potent off the dribble shooter with incredible passing, really high feel, and he took a huge leap as an athlete, as a finisher this year. Dunked it way more, finished way more effectively around the rim, and pretty good defensively too. Gets a good amount of steals. He's really good. He's a pretty solid point of attack defender. He's not a liability there. He's a pretty complete player, and just his level of pull up shooting, passing, and point of attack defense is going to translate. That was a really good draft pick. And then Jemai Mashek at 59. I went to Tennessee. I watched him for like every game. The defense is incredible. The point of attack defense, defensive playmaking is great. It's always going to be about the offense. He's a non-offense. He's like a non-impact guy on offense at the NCAA level, so I don't know how it looks at the NBA level. He's probably not a guy, but if the shooting comes around, it's a big if, but maybe he could be a guy. At the 59 pick, I wasn't mad at the pick. But yeah, Cedric Howard, Javon Small, Jemai Mashek, a really good draft class for the Grizzlies. I was really happy with it.
Yeah, totally agree that great value. I mean, Javon Small, I agree. I think is really underrated in this process. Like he very complete guard, as you said. Like can defend, can run a lot of different pick and rolls, can shoot and score, and handle everything you want, kind of in a complete point guard prospect type. So just very, very Grizzly pick is what he felt like. It's like, they got another good basketball player who's going to have very few holes on either end out there and just make good decisions, like classic Grizzlies. And yeah, Cedric Howard was kind of like one of the big names of the draft, like a big late riser because of like only playing, what was it, 6 games, I think, in D1 this year. And just a very unorthodox path to get here, but incredible length, incredible touch. And, that's enough to get attention from teams, especially in a class that felt like, devoid of the high-end talent, but was still full of some very interesting talent. So I was interested to see like where Cedric would end up because of just the potential of it all, the risk of it all. Like, will he is some team willing to bet on like this size and touch will translate? We're going to make this fit in our system because that's all we're going to ask him to do. And the Grizzlies are a good fit for that type of thing where you already have a few stars in place. He just has to slide in. And as a D&3 type of guy right away is all you're really asking for him, and see what he can do on that end and then expand from there. Is there more to his game? Because I do think the Grizzlies could just use that athleticism, that size out there a little bit on the wing. So that's a nice fit, and we'll see if it's worth the value. I mean, it's almost under discussed what they gave up because maybe the Pelicans trade was such a mind-boggling one so soon. After.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
Because they moved, the Pelicans move up 10 spots to give up an unprotected 26 pick next year. The Grizzlies moved up 5 spots to give up an unprotected pick in 28, but obviously, not quite the same billing of draft class, and Orlando's 2028 is probably in the 20s, whereas the 26 could end up top 5, top 10. We'll see the ones they traded. So that was a crazy deal. One other team that stood out to you said was the Hornets. I totally agree. I want to hear what you think first of how they came out of this, but I agree that I was really impressed with their class, just fitting their stars with talent, a good complementary fit.
Yeah, Khan's a really low friction mode. He fits in pretty much. He'll fit into most lineups. He's a really good fit next to LaMelo and Brandon Miller. I thought it was a better pick than Ace or Shai there. That was a good pick. But the one I thought Lee McNeely was a pretty good pick at 29 too. He played injured for a large amount of the season at UConn, so his finishing really struggled. But just someone that tall who shoots that well, who has a competent handle and isn't terrible defensively, is a pretty solid. Is a pretty solid swing, Yeah, the finishing was like really bad. It was like sub 50%, but he's injured, so I thought it was a good swing. But the pick that I liked the most was Kalkbrenner. I thought he was really undervalued throughout the process, throughout the draft cycle. He's going to be really nice to Khan. I can't wait for the Khan Calc pick and rolls, the Khan to Calc lobs. I think that's going to be really nice. Obviously, LaMelo there too. I think trading away Mark Williams and getting Kalkbrenner was a really good move for the Hornets. I thought they added value there. I thought it was just really good value relative to position with Khan, Kalkbrenner, and Lee McNeely. I think those were great picks.
Yeah, and to be clear, they got Zion James too, or was he traded elsewhere?
Yeah, they did get Zion James too. Yeah, I wasn't as big as a fan of him, but at 45, that was good value too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I might have the wrong pick in front of me. So did he fall to the 45th pick, Zion James? or was it?
I
I
think
had 33, but
was it there? Okay, yeah, I think so. It's 33. I'm misremembering. That's my bad.
yeah.
Was it
I'll double
33?
check. I'll double check while we're talking here. But
Okay.
either way, they ended up with Sion, and I
Yeah.
totally agree. I really like all of the like. What really stood out to me is like they addressed needs and roles around LaMelo and Brandon Miller like perfectly.
Hmm.
Like I
Yeah.
don't know if you could have came out of this draft with like better fit players, and this isn't about they're going to win it all next year because everyone fits so great. They're going to compete really well next year. No, they they chose guys that are going to complement each other while they develop. That they're going to all help each other kind of build as a cohesive unit towards the future. Where right off the bat, Concanipple is like, as you said, like you can just slide him into many different roles, but I think he becomes that offensive engine, like the grease to the Hornets offense that they need to kind of
Hmm.
facilitate and run that half court offense even more
Yeah.
so than LaMelo does, because I view LaMelo more as like the ultimate connector, handoff, 3-point passer, more than the on-ball point guard creator type. I'd rather Concanipple create a lot of those looks and have LaMelo be more of a handoff, catch and shoot secondary guy, I think. But they can do both. I love LaMelo, but I think LaMelo ultimately, because of Khan's arrival, like to me, the reason you take Khan over Trey Johnson here is for the playmaking, is for the offensive engine of it all. The idea that Knipple can dribble and create and score. He can run your half court offense, initiate to set up Brandon Miller as a shooter, to set up LaMelo as a shooter, now to set up Ryan Kalkbrenner and pick and pop as a floor spacer and then a rim roller. Sion James and Liam McNeely, almost polar opposites, but as in my head, in terms of they are both like perfect role player prospects to just kind of
Hmm.
you for attacking closeouts is what I'm getting at. They're both great at. They have both proven to me that they can fill out a lineup and attack closeouts with quick decision making. Liam more so as a shooter, James more so as a downhill quick burst to the rim attacker. But they both kind of bring both of that. So
Hmm.
I think that the idea that they can both attack closeouts with either of those things, and yet they both are kind of a little bit better at one or the other, is another like good complementary piece to this
Hmm.
that provides depth of different options. Where you have LaMelo at point, you got Knipple running the show, Miller on the wing, and Kalkbrenner play finishing rim rolling, and now you can have McNeely or Sion James attacking closeouts at the three. Just a really really nice nice floor balance team building lineup strategy here that I really appreciate from the talent they pick, because like we're hitting on, they didn't necessarily just take like the best player available by consensus, but they took good players at every slot that fit their needs, that are good basketball players, and bring good value at all of these slots, I think. um, I didn't actually look up, but I will now. Which slot he got drafted. But so where do you think this puts the Hornets next year with how open the East is? Do you think this is still maybe a few years away from playoff talk, or do you think they could maybe like sneak into a little play in with how I think they're going to be
Yeah.
much more competitive right away, especially because of Knipple, his feel, and Kalkbrenner, his experience should make him, a
Hmm.
little more available than the average rookie, I would say, in terms of win
Yeah.
now. How
Yeah. Yeah.
competitive do you see the Hornets being next season?
Yeah. I'd say I'm a little less high on Knipple, his like on ball creation, him kind of being the guy on the team. I think there are severe athletic limitations with him, but just his
Sure.
dribble, pass, shoot competency, it allows him to be really role versatile on offense. So he should contribute year one. Calc should contribute year one too. Barring health, I think that's been Lamelo's biggest problem, just how healthy he is. And Brandon Miller missed time last year too. But if they're healthy, I could see them easily making the playoffs. I think they should at the very least make a play, and maybe even just make the playoffs outright with with how weak the East is.
Yeah.
I don't really expect them to win a series, but like they should be in the playoff playing game at least, if not make the playoffs outright.
Yeah, and I don't even mean to put expectations on them in year one after this. Just I do think that's how good and complementary and well fitting some of these prospects are
Hmm.
just together, and I think that can I'm trying to not do this thing that I think a lot of people do, and myself included, when we do the draft winners, draft losers immediately the next day, is we
Hmm.
take all the prospects they took and we just combine them into one lineup. And we're like, oh, those three guys I don't really see how those two fit together. And I think
Hmm.
that's I might be doing that with the Hornets a little bit, but I think on the one hand, when you take this many prospects, that is going to
Hmm.
be a pretty big factor of like, well, we want the lineup of all these young guys to kind of make sense going forward. But if you're taking just two or three rookies, they don't necessarily have to be like the perfect combination of their own. It's about complementing the entire team and the entire lineup as a whole. So I think that can get lost. Like with the Nets, for example, I was lower on their collective choices. Like once you take Yegor Demon that high, which I think was the biggest reach to me personally of all of them, that like if they had just taken what was considered a more consensus pick there, like a Kaman Maluat, she's still messing with. I'll get the pronunciations one time. That's my biggest
Yeah.
challenge on the podcast. But one day we'll get it. If they just took like a more consensus guy, like Kaman or Noah Sengyu at that slot, and then took all these playmakers and Drake Powell, I think criticizers and draft critics would have been a little nicer to them. It was really the combination of, we're going to reach on one player type and we're also going to just draft that player type 4 times, and no one is going to understand that, like no one's going to see how that makes sense as one lineup. Like I don't think anyone looks at that and be like, "Oh, that's a great lineup that's going to work together." I don't know if that's the case for Brooklyn, but that's kind of my point, is like maybe we shouldn't necessarily be judging it that way as much as the talent that they got at each slot. And maybe there is some overlap on some skill sets, but maybe that's also part of their strategy, like the way that the Thunder are double downing on defense and playmaking. Maybe the Nets just want to be the run and gun playmaking team now that just has a bunch of guys that create for
Hmm.
others, and no one's ever going to take a shot. We'll see. We'll see what they actually end up
Yeah, yeah.
looking like. But I do think for the immediate, trying to analyze stuff, which, we shouldn't do anyway. We should give all these guys 5 years to actually play out their actual careers. But I think there's value in, we've all been doing this draft process for years to get to this point. We should be able to say, like, this team made a good pick because there is a good, realistic development path for that player to be successful now on this team because of X, Y, and Z. And that doesn't happen for every player. And I think, to wrap it up, is that the Hornets did that with every pick that they made on
Hmm.
on draft night. That they're not blocking any one player's potential development by selecting another one with a similar skill set at the same
Hmm.
position. They now
Yeah.
have 5, 6, 7 young guys that all play different positions, all do all do slightly different things, but more importantly, can all pretty much play together, complement each other well. I agree off what you said off the top on Liam McNeely. I think he fell a little bit. I'm much higher on him as just like a high floor role player, that tall shooter, can dribble, can attack the closeout, be aggressive, and dunk on your head, and a little bit bigger size than one might realize. And Sion James, kind of the flip of that. It's funny how the name association with all these names keeps bringing me back to Cooper Flagg. Like he was kicking out to Liam McNeely in high school. He was kicking
Hmm.
out to Knipple and Sion James at Duke.
Yeah.
Like all these guys proved they can attack a closeout with Cooper Flagg kicking to them. And there is
Yeah.
something to be said of, they were the benefit of that, but I think that there's also a little bit of proof of concept there that they were able to finish the plays off the advantages created by NBA players, and
Hmm.
they all bring complete dribble, pass, shoot skill sets that really should limit the holes in their game at the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with I agree with a good amount of what you said. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like the Nets draft class like most people. I didn't like the Wolves draft picks in particular, but I thought the Igor pick was pretty overhated. The Powell pick was pretty good. Sorry, not Sarov. I didn't like the Danny Wolf and I didn't like the Danny Wolf pick and the Yegor Demon pick that much, but I thought the other picks were fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit overhated, but yeah, I agree with most of what you said.
it was just interesting to see that strategy. I'm still kind of like not sure what the strategy is, but I'm excited to see what it is, and maybe it's just changing the pace and the culture for their team going forward and targeting talent that might be able to do that. And like I'm not a Yegor Demon fan in terms of having him very highly ranked on my big board, but I did have Danny Wolf pretty damn high, and I'm not a huge fan of this fit for him. I do like that they brought back Day'Ron Sharpe. Like, I think he needs a rim roller to have any success. To unlock his pick and roll creatorness, like you need a play finisher to help kind of finish those plays, a rim roller like that to really unlock the pick and roll, I think. And we'll see. I don't love the fit for him, but hey, was there any other draft parting thoughts? Any other winners, losers, favorite prospect fits for their prospect development, or a team fit that you liked before we head out of here?
No, I think the Suns, they had picks that fell into their lap. They did a good job. The Magic did a great job with Penda and Jace. And I think the Celtics did a great job with the Shogun and Amari Williams picks.
How do you like the Suns kind of fit for Kaman's development? Do you think, because that was one I'm a little torn on, where there is opportunity. They made the Mark Williams trade, so there's a little confusion there for who's gonna, like, maybe Mark will start and be a win now guy. I guess he's a few years older, and Kaman will have some time to develop. If they're trying to win now, I assume they are still around Booker. Like, what did you? That's the one of the only teams where I'm a little torn on. Are they winners or losers? Because Kaman fell to them, but I don't really see the creator who's gonna set him up to help him be unlocked as a finisher. Like, I don't view Devin Booker or Jalen Green as those passing, pick and roll, lob throwing creator types that will really unlock Kaman's game. So that's the part where I'm a little just hesitant to decide, are they winners or losers? I'm not sure. But Fleming, they did get some value with Fleming later in the draft as well. And like, Kaman's a really good talent. So at the end of the day, if you are stockpiling talent, you got a good one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that wasn't a great fit for Kaman basketball-wise, just because they don't have a point guard, someone to really set him up greatly as a play finisher. Going from Con Knuckle and Cooper Flag to Devin Booker and Jalen Green, that's like a pretty major downgrade. Right. But I mean, you can't fault the Suns for making the right picks. I think Kaman at 10 was the right pick. Rasheer at 31 was the right pick. I wasn't that high on Rasheer. I had him like late 20s, barely first round. But at 31, I thought that was kind of a no-brainer pick. They picked up Jordan Gainey for Summer League. If they signed him for E10, I'm biased. I'm a Tennessee fan. I like him too. But yeah, you can't really fault them for making the quote unquote right pick. I don't know what defines that, but they drafted, in my opinion, was the best player. No, I don't think Rasheer was the best player available, but he fits well. If he pans out, him and Kaman at the 4 and 5 floor spaces, that's pretty cool. But I mean, yeah, I think the Suns were winners. I thought they drafted good talent. Yeah, they were winners. Boston was a winner. I thought, those were the best drafting teams. I thought they had good talent.
Yeah, totally agree. Good shout out there. You got a Tennessee basketball making some big moves. Nada Met next year. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, you excited about that? Is it? We got a top 5 pick possibly coming up to Tennessee. It's an exciting time.
Yeah. I'm excited. Next draft. The entirety of the draft class next year is going to be really exciting, but especially Met, we'll see. The top 5 is pretty stacked. We'll see if he can make a crack at that.
He's a tough shot maker. He's got that shot release that you would have that like Durant and Wemby are pulling up with the long shots. Yeah. Just the release. Yeah. It's a long one. So can't wait. That'll be fun. But man, a lot of fun times at basketball. Thanks for taking the time today, Maurya. Talking some Oklahoma City Thunder NBA draft, celebrating the Thunder season. Just an all-time great team, defense, all-time great player, all-time great season for Shai. Shout out to the whole franchise, man. Y'all deserve it. Exciting times and fun to wrap up some draft thoughts and tie a little bow on this draft cycle. I'm sure we'll do a few more pods in this cycle to wrap things up, but I'm really glad we finally, took some time here to just give the Thunder their flowers and celebrate the championship. That's what all this is about after everything anyway. So you gotta take a moment and appreciate the Thunder while they're doing it. Because like we said, you really never know what could happen next. Things happen, without warning in the NBA. So appreciate it while it lasts. But appreciate you taking the time today, Maurya. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me on, man. Shout out Oklahoma City. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Learning Basketball is a Swish Theory podcast hosted from Beyond the Arcade. Hey, that's me. You can find my work on Twitter, YouTube, Substack, and check out the team's writing at theswishtheory.com.